Dear students, welcome you all for the first session of the third chapter of Goods and Service Tax, 6th semester Mangalore University BCom. So in this session, we are going to discuss procedure and related to levy of GST in detail. So my session will include first constitutional powers to levy GST, the definition of GST as per constitution, then taxable event, then charge mechanism under GST. So this is the learning objective, to know the procedure related to levy of goods and service tax, including central GST, state GST and integrated GST, and to know the procedure to compute taxable value and tax liability. So outcome of the session is student will be able to compute taxable value and tax liability as per the provisions of GST Act. Now let's begin. Constitutional power to levy GST. So as we know, GST is a new tax regime, okay, which has combined all the major indirect taxes, and one tax has been constituted. But to levy GST, there should be a provision in the constitution. So if there is a provision in the constitution only, we can levy the tax. So that's what Article 265 says. No tax shall be levied or collected except by authority of law. So there should be constitutional provision in order to levy the new tax, because GST is completely new. It is a combination of goods and also service tax. So it is a one tax in nature. So since it is a new tax, there should be a constitutional amendment. So there was no provision to implement GST as per the provisions of the constitution. So amendment has to be made in the constitution in order to levy the GST. So a separate article had to be created to implement the GST. That's why what happened, a separate article called 246A was inserted to the constitution. And what happened after that, after inserting this constitution, both central government and state government got the power to levy the GST, because it cannot be either central government levying the tax or only state government levying the tax, because since it is goods and service, both the government should have the power to levy the GST. And that's why both the Parliament and also state legislature jointly got the power to make the laws in respect of GST. And that's why we have CGST, central GST and state GST. So as a result, what happened? So central GST Act was enacted, and also at the same time state GST Act also was enacted. So now this is regarding the intrastate, within the state. So within the state, even central government can make the laws, and even the state government also can make the laws. So it is like a concurrent list where both the governments can make the laws. Now what happens with regard to interstate? Okay, when there is a transaction between the two states, so only the central government will have the power to make the laws. And that's why with respect to interstate trade or commerce, Parliament has the exclusive power to make the laws, that is central government. Hence IGST, that is integrated GST Act, was enacted. So three acts were enacted. One is central government, then state or UTGST Act, then there was IGST. As we have CBDT, Central Board for Direct Taxes, there was a separate indirect, since it is an indirect tax, there was a separate body was required to administer and also to manage the GST, and that's why a separate body was required to administer GST. So again, constitution was amended, new article was included, that is most disputed and most discussed article, that is Article 279A was inserted to the Parliament to to constitute the GST Council. So this is what regarding the constitutional amendments regarding GST. There were so many other amendments. I'm not going to discuss in detail, but this is important, these amendments. Now let us discuss definition of GST as per the Constitution. So Constitution gives definition regarding goods and service tax, goods and services. Let's see that. The first one, goods and service tax. So goods and service tax, as per the Article 366 and Clause 12A of the Constitution, GST means tax on supply of goods or services or both, except taxes on supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption. So as per the Article 366 Clause 8, it is very clear that GST means tax on supply of goods and services or both, except alcoholic liquor for human consumption. If you are supplying alcoholic liquor for human consumption, that means that is excluded from GST, that will have a separate tax. Then what is goods? So as per Article 366 Clause 12, goods includes all materials, commodities and articles. So all materials, commodities and articles are constituted or called as goods. Then what is services? So very simple. So as per the Constitution, Service means anything other than goods. So anything other than goods is considered as services. So next one we will discuss regarding taxable event. So what is taxable event? So taxable event means when the tax has to be paid. Okay. So taxable event in case of GST is nothing but supply of goods and services or both. So whenever you make any supply of goods or services or both together, then that is the event for tax or that is a taxable event for GST. So in case of intrastate supply, then central GST, SGST or UTGST shall be levied. In case of interstate supply, then IGST shall be levied. So this is the taxable event under GST. Now let's discuss the charge mechanism under GST. So liability to pay GST is determined through a charge mechanism. There are two charge mechanisms. That is, first one is forward charge and reverse charge. So liability to pay GST is determined on the basis of charge mechanism, which can be forward charge mechanism or reverse charge mechanism. Now let us discuss both these in detail. So first one is forward charge mechanism. So forward charge is nothing but a normal charge mechanism or direct charge mechanism. It is also known as a direct charge. So whenever you make a supply, you have to pay the tax. So that is what forward charge mechanism. So under this, supplier of goods or services is liable to pay the tax. So whenever one person or any dealer, any businessman or any person who makes a supply, he has to pay the tax. So that is a forward charge mechanism. Then there is another one, reverse charge mechanism. So what is this reverse charge? We know what is forward charge. So in case of supply of, if any trader makes a supply of goods and services, he is liable to pay tax. So in case of reverse charge mechanism, it is reverse. So here supplier will pay the tax, but under reverse charge, who is another person is the receiver. So one person will supply, another person will receiver. Okay, receiver has to pay the tax instead of supplier. That is reverse charge. So understand clearly, forward charge, supplier has to pay the tax, but under reverse charge it is reverse, vice versa. So here the person who receives the goods has to pay the tax. So under this, receiver of the goods is liable to pay the tax. So why this was done is because, see, registration is compulsory if the turnover aggregate threshold limit is crossed, but there are chances that those dealers whose aggregate turnover may not increase or may not cross the threshold limit, then there is no compulsion that he has to register. So he becomes an unregistered dealer. So whenever a supply is done by a unregistered dealer, that means he need not pay any tax. So that time the person who receives the goods from unregistered dealer has to pay the tax. So that is the implication of reverse charge mechanism. So through this mechanism, even the unregistered dealer also will be liable to pay tax. Let me explain this concept through a chart. So here, normal charge mechanism under GST. So normal charge means what? So here, receiver, okay, makes the payment to the supplier. Okay, supplier is the person who supplies the goods to the receiver. Receiver will receive the goods and makes the payment to the supplier. What does the supplier do? Supplier will deposit with the government. So government is the ultimate person who receives the tax. So clear, right? So a supplier makes the supply of goods to the receiver. So receiver receives the goods and makes the payment to the supplier along with the tax. So here supplier receives the tax and makes the payment to the government. That is a normal charge. Okay, what is reverse charge mechanism? It is vice versa. So here what happens? Okay, supplier will supply the goods to the receiver, but receiver will not make the payment to the supplier. Where he will make the payment? So here receiver makes the payment without GST to the supplier. He will not pay the GST, he will pay directly to the government. So here makes the payment including GST. GST is missed here, including GST to the supplier. So everything is paid to the supplier and supplier will deposit to the government. So that is the normal charge. So under reverse charge, supplier has to pay to the government. What happens here? It is reversed. Receiver has to pay the tax to the government. So receiver directly deposits GST with the government on behalf of the supplier. So that is reverse charge mechanism. Now let us discuss applicability of reverse charge mechanism. So to whom or to which trader or on which case reverse charge mechanism will apply? As we have already discussed, reverse charge mechanism will apply whenever there is a supply from unregistered dealer to a registered dealer. So that is the first condition. First applicability. So first applicability is supply from an unregistered dealer to a registered dealer. Then services through an e-commerce operator. So here instead of dealer, e-commerce operator has to pay the tax. Then supply of certain goods and services specified by Central Board for Excise and Customs. So they have specified certain goods and services on which reverse charge mechanism will apply. Now what are the conditions under reverse charge mechanism? So on which basis we can charge reverse charge mechanism or tax is charged under reverse charge mechanism? The first one is there should be a taxable supply of goods or services. So if there is no taxable supply, if it is a exempted supply or if it is a non-GST supply, then there is no question of reverse charge mechanism. Then supply must be done by an unregistered dealer. So this is very important. So supply must be done by an unregistered dealer. He is not registered as per the GST Act, and to whom it has to make. So supply must be to an registered dealer. So supply must be done by an unregistered dealer to a registered dealer. So this is very important. Then supply must be an intrastate supply only. If it is an interstate supply, reverse charge mechanism will not apply. Then maintain proper records. So for the supply, there should be a proper record has to be maintained. So in the sense, there should be proper bill, date, everything has to be recorded properly. Then must mention in invoice that tax payable through reverse charge. So in invoice itself, it has to be mentioned that reverse charge mechanism or tax paid on reverse charge mechanism. So these are the conditions under reverse charge mechanism. So that's all from this video. Thank you for watching this video.